Howdy folks, Monty here, and welcome to the first episode of Armchair Developer. This is going to be a regular video series in which I give some commentary on World of Warcraft, the state of the game as it is now, as it was, and where we hope it's going. We're going to be talking about upcoming content, we're going to be talking about balance patches, and just in general the state of the game. So what better way to start it out than to talk about the launch of World of Warcraft Legion. The expansion launched 6 days ago, and I was able to come into it fresh because I wasn't one of the ones who played in the beta. So on Tuesday night when the servers went live and the switch was flipped to do the expansion, that was really my first experience with Legion, and I have to say I've just been loving it so far, and for all indications I'm going to continue to love it for quite some time. First off, before we go any further, let's talk about the launch itself. I've been playing the game since a little bit before the Encourage patch in vanilla, and so I've been online and been able to experience the launch for each expansion pack, and this by far was the smoothest expansion launch that they've had so far. I didn't have any lag, I didn't have any disconnects, I didn't have any login queues. Right at 2 a.m. for me, when the switch was flipped and the expansion was live, the quest popped up for me and said, hey, port Dalaran to the Broken Isles. I did it, saw the cutscene, went to my order hall, went to do my artifact, went into the Broken Isles, and just kept leveling without even a little bit of slowdown. And props need to be given to Blizzard for that, because that was just an amazingly well-executed experience. A couple things they did really, really well there, I think. When you look back at Warlords of Draenor, when it first launched, it was plagued by bad server problems, and a lot of those were due to a DDoS attack, but a lot of them stemmed around the garrisons. You do your intro scenario, and a couple of quests into the first zone, you were there at your garrison, along with every other player of your faction. So really we had two spots where every player was, and those world servers were just going down like crazy. And when they'd go down, you'd get everybody hitting the login servers, try to get back in. You'd have queues, and it was just a nightmare. This time around, instead of having that bottleneck in one spot, everybody was so spread out. You'd start, and some classes would start with their order hall first, and then their artifact. Other classes would start with their artifact and then their order hall. Of course, the order hall quest and the artifact quest were all different lengths. You could have one that went for quite a while with multi-stages. You could have one that was relatively quick. And what that meant is that, A, everybody was out in the world. Everybody was spread out. Not all those quests were happening in one spot. And then once people did start to funnel into the Broken Isles, which, by the way, 4 zones this time that you can choose from to start with. So that was another way to spread people out. But once you got there, you were getting there at different times because some people were still on the artifact quest, while others had already been done with their artifact quest and had already started. So it had this really perfectly executed, staggered experience that made it just a great launch. Also, the sharding technology, and the pre-event ties into this too, right? Because the pre-event was kind of the testing grounds for the sharding technology before it finally went live with Legion in the Broken Isles. It's been great. I mean, for the first time, you can pick any zone, and you can go there, you can level, and it doesn't matter if you're a higher level or if you're a lower level. It's not going to be too hard for you, and it's never going to be to a point where you've out-leveled it and it's useless for you. It's always something that's relevant to your character as you're leveling. So props to Blizzard for that. This was a great launch. Very, very well done. Talking real quick about the leveling experience. Leveling this time around was my favorite leveling experience of any expansion so far. It didn't feel too long, it didn't feel too short, but mostly it didn't feel like leveling. And what I mean by that is in previous expansions, as I would be leveling, I would be paying close attention to my experience bar, saying, hey, I'm 90% there, I'm 95% there, I'm 98% there, holy moly, all right, 100%. Now I can leave this zone because it's useless to me, I've out-leveled it, and I can go to the next zone. I wasn't paying attention to the story, I was paying attention to that experience bar and how to get it from 0 to 100% in the least amount of time possible. Compare that to Legion. As I'm leveling through Legion, there were several times that I dinged a new level, and I didn't realize that I was going to be coming up on a new level. I didn't realize that I was there because I had not been paying attention to my experience bar. I had just been out questing and experiencing the quests, which by and large were amazing. The one quest line that I had a problem with was High Mountain, about halfway through High Mountain. You've been doing all these great story missions that are showing you how the world was during the War of the Ancients. It's showing you some lore on Neltharion before he was Deathwing, and showing you some Black Dragon lore. And in the middle of that, you're pulled out of that experience to go kill a bunch of harpies, and then go collect the items that the harpies have in their nest, and then go kill the harpy matriarch. It didn't feel like it had any bearing on the story whatsoever. It didn't feel like I was doing anything exciting. I was just out killing harpies like it was 2005. So, not a big fan of the harpy questline. I've never been a fan of harpies anyway, so that may be part of the problem. But outside of that, questing was amazing, and especially Val-Shara. I saved Val-Shara for last. I highly recommend anybody do that. But more than saving it for last, just make sure that when you play Val-Shara, that you're paying attention, especially those cutscenes. The cutscenes are great. The story is great. I think the duration of the zone was just about perfect. There were several chapters, but some of them were completed just back to back to back, to where it went fairly quickly, but at the same time without feeling rushed. It was, aside from Suramar, which is kind of its own thing, Val-Shara is my favorite zone that Blizzard has put out, and I wouldn't have expected that going into it, because I'm not really an elf fan. I'm not really a fan of the Night Elves and all the lore surrounding druids. It's just not my thing, but it was so well executed in Val-Shara that I just could not help but enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to going through it again on alts. Let's talk about professions and class identity for a minute, and this kind of ties into leveling. I'd say about 30% of my leveling experience was not questing out in the world, but doing quests for my profession and for my order hall, my class. And so it made leveling a really, really unique experience, because what I was experiencing was different from the guy next to me. I was experiencing a completely different story than my friend who's a paladin. And even compared to other Death Knights, I had completely different quests and was on completely different tasks than other Death Knights who may have been alchemy, herbalism, when I'm enchanting engineering. So that was really well done. Professions just felt great. Classes felt great. Class order hall campaigns are they're a sore spot for me right now, because the story is great. Playing through the Death Knight order hall campaign story, I was so impressed by the story moments. The quest and the cinematics were great. And then you've got the garrison mission table. And I was not one of those ones who was a hater on Warlords of Draenor. I didn't mind the garrisons as much as other people did. But when you compare it to this amazing quest content you've got in Legion, and then all of a sudden they pull you out of that quest content for a minute and say, by the way, before you can progress, I want you to complete 5 garrison missions of this specific type. By the way, you're probably not going to be able to get a 100% chance on it, because your garrison followers aren't leveled up enough. That was probably because I was rushing through the levels. I hit 110 within 48 hours. But still, at the same time, I just didn't enjoy being taken out of that Legion content to do the garrison mission table. So I hope that Blizzard will just phase that out almost completely and have it really be less of a wall that prevents you from doing the content, because the content is out there and the content is great. One other thing that I would say, as far as professions and classes, as I'm playing and I'm seeing how much of leveling is taken up by professions and how much of it is taken up by my class, I'm really wishing that I had a racial storyline. I'm a big dwarf fanboy anyway. Most of my characters that can be dwarves are dwarves. I would have loved to have a quest line that involves maybe recovering an ancient dwarven artifact, or uncovering some lore behind the Earthen and how they became dwarves, or anything like that to give me a little bit of not just a class identity but a racial identity. And the same thing for Draenei, for orcs. Think about all the opportunities you would have had for Night Elf lore in this expansion. So hopefully Blizzard will think about that. Hopefully the class stuff and the profession stuff has been so well received that Blizzard will say, hey, maybe next time around we should do a little bit more on races. We should do a little bit more on factions even. And really kind of a unique leveling experience. It also makes it to where playing alts, how awesome is it going to be to play alts now? Because it's not going to be just the same experience every time. You're not going to go through the same 10 zones and then go, 4 zones and go, whatever we've done in previous expansions. This time you're going to be doing those zones, but A, you're going to do them in any order, and B, it's going to give you a different experience depending on what your class and your profession is, and I just love it. Video's going a little long, so just real quickly, we're going to cover this more in depth in a later video, but let's talk about the end game for a minute. World quests are great so far. They're very rewarding, but I think that it feels like we'll run out of the rewards too quickly, because I think items only scale in World Quest up to item level 850, and I'm already starting to get 840s from World Quest. So pretty soon, gear rewards from World Quest are not really going to appeal to my main. And the repetitiveness of the World Quest, the fact that, hey, we're 6 days into the expansion, and I've already seen the same World Quest in Val'Sharah 3 times, that's going to become a little repetitive, and I'm a little afraid that these are going to turn into just your standard dailies that you log in and kind of groan and say, I've got to do my world boss, I've got to do my emissary quests. I can't get that done quick enough because I don't want to be doing it. So Blizzard's adding more World Quest in 7.1. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more from that. Hopefully we'll see them improve upon that to where it's a little bit more engaging. Suramar, I'm definitely going to do a video on Suramar once I'm done with it. If I were to guess, I'd say I'm about a quarter of the way done. Suramar has been amazing, amazing, amazing. I won't give any spoilers right now except to say that you absolutely should be playing it. And don't go into it expecting to play it for rewards. Play it just for the experience. You're going to get some artifact power. Yeah, it's going to be good. But play it for the experience of playing that story. You will be doing yourself a favor because it is a ton of fun. And then finally, dungeons. Dungeons have been fantastic. I cannot wait for Mythic Plus. Some of the dungeons are a little bit lengthy. They've got a little bit of trash, which can be fun when you're in a group of friends. But when you run at a pug, I really don't want to get Eye of Ashara when I'm in a pug, because it can be painful with a pug. So what I'd like to see is the random group finder do the same thing the random battleground finder has, to where you can actually exclude some specific instances from your random group finder. And maybe by excluding dungeons, I'm giving up on the opportunity for a satchel of helpful goods. I don't care. I just don't want to do Eye of Ashara in a pug. That said, in a group of friends, all of the dungeons are amazing. They're varied. They're diverse. No one dungeon feels quite like the other one, so it's a nice mix of things. And the Mythic difficulty, we're not talking about Mythic Plus, because Mythic Plus is yet to come, but Mythic difficulty has been right in that sweet spot where I like heroics to be. Feels just a little bit under what Cataclysm heroics were. You definitely need a coordinated group. This is definitely something that would just chew Group Finder up if it was opened up to Group Finder. Thankfully it's not, and it brings a really engrossing 5-man experience to the table. So that's all I've got for today. Like I said, I'm going to go into the endgame stuff more in another video. But thank you guys so much for listening. Do me a favor, give me some feedback, give me some comments in the comments section, throw me a like, throw me a subscribe, keep an eye on the channel because there's more videos for coming, and thank you so much for watching.